Hello, welcome back once again to Lotty's Chainsaw Mods. I was talking earlier about on my last video about modifying these CS5 800 Chinese chainsaws, and I'd already explained, you know, I finished this one now, completed. I explained the fact that I showed porting and actually lowering the cylinder to increase squish, raising the transfers, etc, etc, and the fact that now this one I'm applying everything from that one onto this plus a little bit more, because that's a monster now. That's really a real good saw, that one, really fast. I mean, this one I could end up blowing this up, I don't know, because that's really topped out now. I mean, you could even be pushing it over 5 horse now on that one. 14,400 RPMs it pushes out, and this one is going to be should be slightly better, because I've gone a bit more aggressive with porting, and I've lowered the cylinder quite a bit now. I've got a 0.75mm squish on this. They're averaging somewhere around 2mm normally, so it's really increased the compression ratio. And like I said, I could blow it up, but it's all about, you know, to me it's the fun of doing them, and if I blow it up, I know I've pretty much done as much as I can, and you know, I would probably end up perhaps increasing the fuel oil ratio on the one that survives to make it okay, and then I'll rebuild it. You know, the bits are cheap for these. I could get a new crank, conrod, wheel bearings and everything for about £25 for these. I can buy cylinders, as I showed before. I've got cylinders here anyway in stock. I've got a new one, and I've got some used, good, decent used ones, and pistons, and I've got new rings and stuff, so I can build it back up pretty cheap anyway. But I'm showing the next stage of this now. You know, I've fitted the cylinder. I've just finished fitting my intake manifold, which I'll show you. So there's my intake fitted. Silicone, no gaskets, just put a bit of RTV, some of this RTV sealant on it, and yeah, so that's on now. I'll show you after, but at the moment I can show you the fact that I've also, I'm trying to see what you can see. Oh, here we go. So the back of the casing in here, I've ground all that away. To make more room, because I'm fitting 372 Husqvarna carburetor, and the reason is, just a moment, I'm going to put you back over here, and I can't do it like that very good. I'll put you back over here. Have I got you in the right place? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so that's the standard carburetor. That's standard carburetor. That's a Husqvarna 372 carburetor. So, you know, the longer carburetor's longer. So that's why I've ground the back of that casing out, which I'll show you in a minute. That I make my own air cleaners for these, because the air cleaners they come with, these are the air cleaners that they come with, the air filters. I make my own because they don't free flow enough. They're not big enough, not for this massive carburetor, because see, there's a difference between this one's a standard one and this is the Husky one, 372, which is off a 70cc engine, you know. So, and the choke side, these standard ones are 18mm across, and the Husky 372 is 22mm across. So there's a big difference. So I'm just showing you what I've done really. I've taken the bottom off, I've inspected it, because these I buy cheap carburetors, you know. I mean, I've had these carburetors before where the needle valve in the fuel regulator's even been fitted the wrong way round, you know. And they're never set up correctly. You'll get them over fueling or under fueling. So I always take them apart, have a look at them, set everything up, you know, before I actually fit it. I've even set the fueling jets, the high and low, reset them to 1 turn 8, which is, you know, sort of 3/4 to 1 turn is about average, which I've done. So I'll show you what I've done to it, to the carburetor, what you have to do to the carburetor. I've got another standard Husqvarna one here, 372 carb. So the fact you do need to take them, well, I would always take them apart. I mean, you might be alright, some of them are okay, some of them you might just get away with putting them straight on. It's entirely up to you really, but I always take them apart. I like to see what's gone on in, because they're cheap, you know. I pay £8 to £22, something like that. But I've bought some of these at £8. Husqvarna 372. Get onto Google, have a look. Yeah, they're bloody cheap, you know. A lot of people won't use cheap carbs. They say, oh, you might as well just buy an OEM one, you know, and have done with it, sort of thing. But you know, an OEM one, I mean, some of them are like 150 quid, and I just think, why would you do that when you can get one for like 8 quid? All right, you take it apart, inspect everything, make sure it's put together properly, and set your fuel regulator up. That's it. You don't have to do a lot to the way that they have been built, you know. They're not that bad. Why would you throw money away like that? And you know, and I find it's fun, to be honest. For me, I enjoy messing about. It's my hobby, this, you know. But look, the saws I build are all usable saws, you know. They're not racing saws. I just like to get as much power as I can, but still make them a usable saw. And this is one of the things it does do that, you know. Once you've ported it, put your B intake on it, modified the exhaust and all the rest of it, your next stage is your carburetor. Just go through it, you know. It's good fun. And that one there, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be 5, might be even over 5, and it's only 58cc. You know, you're looking at a unit with like sort of 70cc's in it, to push that kind of horsepower, right? But I know what it is roughly, because I've got a Stihl MS362C, which is rated at 4.8 horse, and I have compared them before, and before I did the second porting job on that, it was up to that level, 4.8 horse, but it felt the same. I've done a second porting job on that now, and that's even stronger than it was. Now what I've done now is obviously put all that work into this one. I'm just basically copying it. So anyway, I was just going to show you what you have to do to these Husqvarna carburetors. Okay, so first thing you need to do before you do anything else, that's your pulse pipe. The one on the Husky is there, which is a big long thing. You see, you need to make it sure like that, straight. So you need to heat that up, straighten it. If you don't heat it up, you'll crack it. If you crack it, then just solder it back together, but obviously straighten it first. But you know, straighten that out, cut it off so it's the same length as that. That's the first thing you need to do, and I'll explain in a minute what else you have to do. Right, okay, so you've got that. Just get that off. So that there is your throttle connection. That's your throttle connection. So you have to drill that hole there. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. So this little section here, I grind that down a bit. You don't need that sticking out, it gets in the way of the throttle wire. So you need to drill your hole there, same as that one. That's your throttle connection. Now I like a nice light throttle, okay? So once you've cut that pipe down, you've drilled your hole in there. Now I like a nice light throttle. So this piece here you don't need. This is the one that's come out the box. So you just get your screwdriver under it and you flick that off. I'm trying to do this without glasses on at the moment. I can't see what I'm doing really. But anyway, flick that off. Don't need that. So okay, so now the second thing you need to do, get rid of this ring. I just lop mine off, look, with a pair of steel cutters. Just lop it off. You don't need that, and it gets in the way of the firewall when you throttle it up, and it'll hold the throttle on. So you need to get rid of that. Just lop that off. Okay, that's the physical things you need to do to fit it. Okay. Now what I also do is I actually, okay, so I thin the choke. If you look at the choke shaft, see that on there, and with a nut on it, etc. And look at this one here. So as you can see, I thinned all the throttle shaft, the choke flap shaft down, and the end of the nut. Okay, so you have to do that. Well, you don't have to do that. I'm doing it because it flows better. Then also the same with the other end. So now this is the one I've done, and that's the standard one. Okay, so look. See if I can open it. There you go. Thin them down as well. I tighten the screws up before I take the heads off as well. Okay, and I trumpet shape the carburetor all around here, and that helps to give you more of a ram effect, to cram more air through. Okay, just be careful you don't go too far, otherwise your choke won't work. So this carb now is pretty much ready to go on actually. I'll just show you. So the carb it fits in there, okay, something like that. I wonder if I can get a light on that. Better. Oh, that's better. Okay, so the carb fits like that. Now there's your pulse line. Where are we? There's your pulse line. Okay, nice short pulse line. The firewall goes in here, which I'll explain in a minute what you have to do. But this pipe, the pulse pipe, goes through the firewall and then it goes on. It's got to go onto there. Now it's going at such an angle that it won't work properly. It'll crush the pipe up inside, okay? So what you need to do to get around that you need to get hold of some of this small bore plastic pipe. This is out of a MIG welder, and make yourself a little shape like that with it. Cut your pulse pipe and just put that in it to alter the angle. Okay, so that's that. The fuel pipe, you will have to do the same with your fuel pipe. Make a little angled piece to get that on, and you might have to extend the fuel pipe a little bit. Your choke fits as standard, and obviously your throttle does go onto the hole that I showed you where I drilled it. That one there, you got a drill. Okay. Also, what I do, I like a light throttle. So what I do, there's a spring. Put my glasses on. There's a spring in these, which is there. Okay. And the spring there, and the spring normally grips onto the back of that piece. So I take it off, I pull it round and I hook it onto there. This is the part where your loop was that you cut off. I cut a little groove in it there and I fix the spring onto there, so you've detensioned the spring so it's not so tight. That's just personal preference. I like a light throttle, so that's what I do. You can take this off and you can alter this as well, make it even lighter for yourself if that's what you want to do, which I do. So there's just a screw underneath. Take that off. Okay, and then there's a, let's bring you back over here again. See where it's about. Don't look too bad, I don't think. Okay, so there's a spring here, look. Yeah. So if all you've got to do really is, oh no, sorry, it's not that one. It's the other one. Oh yeah, it is. Wait a minute. Yeah, so you can just detension that a little bit. A light piece. Just pull this off and have a quick look. So I did one of these a while ago, but can't remember. Yeah, I think that's it. So, so what you do, you want yourself a good pair of pliers and just bend that down a little bit so it's not so tight. Put that in. Long way round. Which I might have done this one already, I think. Yeah, I have. I've done this one already, I've detensioned it. So I'll tension it back up. But you can adjust it basically on that. Okay? There you go. Okay, so that's that. So you can achieve basically a lighter throttle. Oh yeah, the other thing, the firewall. This is your firewall. So when it fits, it's got to fit. It's got to fit over your manifold, just past this face, and bolts down. Okay. So what you have to do is cut the centre out of this. So you'll cut all this centre out, fit it over your manifold, and you can see there's a hole there where your pulse pipe goes through. So you need to move that up here to there, you re-drill it there, refit this. So then this hole's obviously going to be too big, but then what you do is you get your silicone and you go all round it when it's fitted, seal the intake manifold to this. You don't want warm air going through into the air intake, and you don't want to decrease the cooling pressure of the fan either across your cylinder. So that's easy enough, and then that's it. Then you know your carb's on. I also make, so this has got the big carb on it, so I make my own air filters for these free flowing air filters. Okay, and they're made from scratch. They're steel, and they're steel. It's got a steel plate at the back, and it's got a steel mesh, and then it's covered with sponge. Okay, I know it says still on it, but it isn't a still one. It's just a still idea copied off me 038, the way it's fitted. Okay, so just take your screw out, pull that off, and there you go. See, I've had to make a plate there to make the air cleaner too. But that's, if you look inside, you can see, just a minute, you can see there, see there's my elbow that I was talking about, down there. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. For the pulse pipe. So yeah, so this air cleaner, so I make these. It's got a, as you can see through there, it's steel mesh all over the outside, steel mesh. The back plate, the whole plate, is a piece of steel with holes drilled all in it, and then sponge fitted over the top. So there you go. Thanks for watching Lutys Chainsaw Mods.